Hello and welcome to another gameplay and review video. This is another Toguc Bodur game review. This game is Drizzlepath Genie, the second game in the Drizzlepath saga, which was created by Toguc Bodur. This is his second game released, the first game to use Unreal Engine. This game is divided into three different game modes or paths. It has the bonus Ride the Dragon mode, and then it has two paths that you can take, red and blue, right and left, and each path has its own different ending. And I will be doing all three game modes and endings. This game is very simple. It is one of the most simplest types of walking simulators. It's just known for its calming atmosphere and good soundtrack and narration. Pretty much you just walk forward and just admire the scenery and the game design itself and the atmosphere and everything. There's not much to do in this game. As you know, you can also ride the dragon. That's the third choice, which I'll also do later on. So this video will be split into three different sections. I will be doing the good ending first, where Lula, the main character that you play, searches for and meets the genie to uncover the secrets of her world and to get the answers that she seeks. The other path, the right path, she misses the genie, and there is the bad ending. The good ending is actually the left path, and the bad ending is the right path. So just to keep that in mind. So, let's begin with the good ending and start a new game. Drizzlepath Genie.
Once upon a time. Isn't that how stories are supposed to begin? That is how my mother always began her stories. But why can't they end that way? Because the ending is usually when the promise of everlasting happiness is proclaimed. What are stories if not the memories of our people? And if memory is any clue, there is no guarantee of happiness. Is it just a myth that there is any such thing as happily ever after? Memory is a broken mirror, fragments of reflective glass and fractures of light, gleaming in brilliance for a moment before fading forever into vague washes of soft color and deepening shade. Sometimes, the harder we try to focus on them, the more they fade and slip from our grasp. Beautiful shards that, when taken all together, make us who we are. Memories or dreams. Sometimes it is impossible to tell the difference.
Okay, the game opens on a hillside at a farm overlooking the ocean, with the town down below, with a dock, with some floating rocks, so that's pretty neat. So let's begin the journey.
Last night in my dreams, a mysterious wizard came to me. He spoke in a foreign voice, a series of strange sounds that formed a single word. In that word was a message that I understood. He said that I had been chosen, and at the same time, cursed. Lula, he said. Because of your gifts of both endurance and vision, you have been chosen to retrieve the sacred relic of your people, the genie.
The journey of the Kel hero began upon the chickens that swim inside the soft cushions in any place near the rising sun, where the Drizzlepath is drawn all the way up to the mountain of fire. You'll find these floating texts. There are no notes in this game. There are in later games, as you have seen in the other reviews I've done. But in this game, Drizzlepath Genie, it's just floating texts, which I will. I know where a lot of them are located, which I will show you. I played this game several times. As you know, I'm a big, you could say, not just fan, but as a game developer like myself, Toguc Bodur is an inspiration to me. I have a lot of game developers who I'm inspired by. Toguc Bodur is one of them. I like walking simulators and exploration games. Survival crafting games I like even more, but which I'm going to make survival crafting games myself. I'm planning on my first game will probably be a kind of like guided walking simulator type thing, a short game. So that might be in a year. As you know, I'm busy with studies and everything, and moving, soon. But once I get to a new place, I'm planning on doing more with my artwork in game design, and I'm studying software engineering and all of that, and web design and everything. So that's nice. I really enjoy what I do.
But another wizard, who wants the genie for himself, has cursed you with the inability to run. Even now he makes his way to the top of the mountain to claim it as his own. You must reach the genie before him and learn its purpose, its power, for if he takes possession of it, you will be further cursed with the inability to walk. You and your people will never again be free to choose your own path. So make haste, child. Do not tarry. Though the path is long, it is the shortest. Though the path is not easy, it is simple. Though you walk alone, fear not. I will be with you. But you will soon have an important choice that only you can make, and that choice will make all the difference. Thus, I woke to a morning of light drizzle, and, under the soft light of early dawn, began to walk towards the mountain of fire.
As you can see, basic terrain design, not very
Life
simple.
in the village has fallen out of balance since the genie disappeared. Before then, we had the freedom to choose our own paths in life. But now they are decreed by the shamans when we come of age. There are hunters and fishers, collectors and keepers, weavers and walkers. Only one path has ever been chosen for each person. Until me. The shamans decreed that I am both weaver and walker.
And the decision point is right down there, so we're almost there.
Weavers do not just weave fish baskets and blankets. They are also weavers of words, poets and storytellers. They keep the history of our people and weave their words into the warp and woof of every textile. Walkers are the wanderers and wanderers. the dreamers and askers of questions. They are the seekers of whatever light they may find to illuminate the darkest corners of hearts and minds. Of all that have walked away from the village, none have returned.
Okay, this is a decision point. There's a red root and the green root. It's bluish. It's kind of like a bluish green kind of like thing. So like robin's egg blue or something, whatever you call that color. Bluish green. We're gonna take the red root. That's a good ending where Lula finds the genie and then we'll do that bad ending, which is where she doesn't find the genie and gets the other ending. So let's do the good ending. There's the arch. You can tell the good ending because the bad ending doesn't have the arch you go through. You go underneath it's red as well, but you go underneath this arch, so just remember that. But mostly what we do is just follow this path all the way to the end. You don't really have to do much. Just make sure to stay on the path and you'll be fine. It's a pretty simple game. Anyone can play it. Okay, the Q key or the X key. That's for running whenever you can, I guess. Basic tree models. You can see the terrain. We're passing underneath the arch. The terrain's basic, not too fine or refined or advanced. And the path is just drawn on this ground.
This left path feels right.
And sometimes you speed up, sometimes you slow down. Okay. You can press the Q key to you don't have to press the arrow, the WASD keys, just press Q and you'll just keep moving by yourself without pressing the keys. So it's kind of nice. And then press the Q and then you press the Q again to just keep moving. All you have to do is move the mouse button to turn. But you don't have to keep your hand on the W key to move forward. If you don't want to, you can just press the Q key. Usually on the boring parts, your fingers might get tired after like an hour of this.
The shortest path is the longest. And how the stars came down like tears from the night, as if the sky itself were racked by her sorrows, seized in the rictus of the dead, their coronal pallor, lily deadly cold, white as whales, convalescing 10,000 feet too deep. Is it horror or beauty they feel? Or are they the same things? Or is it simply the end of feeling, perhaps mercifully, perhaps tragically? I had seen death and wondered what it was. I have been there to hold the dying when the shamans pressed a finger to their mouths and whispered them away. We each imagine something different for them, whatever soothes the heart, but I fear that death is nothing. How can we know? It seems impossible to imagine the end of imagination, to think of the end of thought. The answer to the mystery of death may be in the answer to the mystery of life.
As you can see, you can't go into any buildings. They're just placed on the map. That's the next game. I think Bottle is the original Bottle is the next game in the series. I've already done a review on that, and that's when the first interior designs were used. Drizzlepath and Drizzlepath Genie, they just placed the buildings. He just placed the buildings on the map. You can't really enter any of them, I don't think. So you can really tell the progression of his designs. Over time, he's added new things to all of his games. You know, I like walking simulators, not to mention, not just because they're easy, and I like puzzles as well. So walking simulators, a lot of them have puzzles.
Then the universe held its breath, as if the gods themselves were waiting for a sign in their long slumber to wake them from dream. The shamans say that the gods fell asleep long ago, before the time of people, when there was nothing but stars in the darkness. In their sleep, they dream the world and us into being. It's a pretty myth, but I wonder if it's true. And if so, what happens when they wake? As I walk, I wonder what I will find at the top of the mountain of fire. I have only heard of the genie in stories and have never seen it myself. I feel awe, and with it, more than a little fear. Can there be reverence without fear? Awe without mystery? We seek answers but resist them when they threaten the notions we feel. Often we prefer to dwell in the dreams of the heart than in the truth of the mind. The genie has power, this much I know. I would definitely choose the right path if I had another chance. I remember my mother, though I was only a girl of 8 when she walked away from the village and me forever. I remember that day and have dreamed it many times since. When she came of age, the shamans had decreed that she was a walker. But this brought her great sorrow, because she was certain she was a weaver. She felt cursed. She longed for the return of the genie so she could decide her own path. The day she left was a cold and rainy autumn day, before the tall grasses had been harvested. I saw her in her sky blue summer dress, long hair, black as the night, wade far out into the field and then stop. She gazed upwards into the sky as the wind made her distant figure look like a broken patch of summer sky, fallen to the ground and battered by the breeze. She clutched herself with her arms, and I felt her sadness. I ran to her as fast as I could. When I finally got to her side, I stopped and reached to take her hand. She felt my touch and pulled away, looking down at me with those pale gray eyes. Even washed in rain, I could tell she was crying. Her eyes seemed to look through me. What if it rained only once in a lifetime, and you missed it? She asked. Of me or anyone, I couldn't tell. She turned her gaze to the distant horizon and whispered, "What is life, if not the longest goodbye?" And she walked away. I close my eyes and see her hurling crumpled papers against candlelit walls, a stranger in her own body. I see her weeping somewhere in the dark corners of our cottage. It pains my father, but she couldn't heal his wounds. She was gone. He woke, the dust still moist with her tears. How she wept, and everything in my world was shattered. I hear her and feel like painting. Instead, I run. I run through the rain until it feels like pieces of glass on my skin. I run to the shoreline and fall among the ruins, where the sand meets the water, meets the sky. Because she speaks sometimes when she sleeps, entire worlds in strange articulations that sound out the heart in more uncommon clarity than my most awkwardly acrobatic didactics. Because she sleeps, sometimes when she dreams, entire worlds with certain gesticulations, her hands seemingly demonstrating a moth stricken by her charmingly unconventional inventions. Because she dreams, sometimes when she speaks, entire worlds unintentionally expressing in one simple sound why anyone, anywhere, ever.
Well, as you can see, we're ascending the mountains.
For 10 long winters, I've pondered her questions. Is life just a long goodbye? A brief, bright spark of imperfection disturbing the twin expanses of otherwise perfect, infinite nothing? Maybe that's why the shamans deemed her a walker and not a weaver. She had no answers, only questions. Questions that can only be answered by walking on the path. A journey to find some mystery to fill the cracked vessel of her heart. A journey to find the genie. But what is the genie? How could it make a difference in the freedom to choose our own paths in life? What power did it hold, and who made it? I could only hope that these questions and more would be answered when I found the genie. I daydreamed about what it would look like. I do not know how far I have yet to travel, or if ever I will find it. I worry that I have chosen the wrong path, but there is no turning back now. As a young girl, my best friend was Rofesso, cobbler's son. He had no interest whatsoever in shoes or the making of them. We would meet in the blue fields, throw off our shoes and run. We ran until dusk and returned home only for supper, with feet filthy, our shoes lost. As we grew, our friendship also grew into affection and ultimately a deep, abiding love. The kind of love that knows you are only half of a whole. Let's jump across the gap.
And this is one of the few times when you can jump. There you go.
As we grew, Rofesso would often take to sitting and staring into the faraway distance. There was a longing in his eyes, and I could feel sadness in him. I would take his hand and sit for hours in silence. On one such occasion, as we watched the sun setting, the late summer breeze in our hair, he looked at me and kissed me on the forehead. He said, "I have to go." My heart collapsed in my chest.
There's another one of the red. Oh. Some kind of device. Kind of like an Easter egg. Some of these are strewn throughout the game map. You can tell you're on the red path because of those things.
Unable to stifle the tears, all I could say was, "I know." As he rose to depart into the great unknown, I asked, "Aren't you afraid of being alone?" "Yes," he said, "my fear is great that I may never see you again, but the fear of living an empty and meaningless life is far greater. Forgive me, Lula." He turned and began to walk away from me.
There's another object.
I said, "I will watch you until I can't see you anymore." And I did. All your words and soft gestures do not add up to your silence and your absence, which now blankets me. Such funny sounds you made as we lay on carpets of moss. You put a flower in my hair and marveled at your work, I suffered sweetly your platitudes and knew you would be forever unmoved by me. Forever, you whispered, your breath brushing my lips. I was there, undone in fistfuls of flowers.
Here's a little forest of crystals.
Alone, I
crystals.
tremble. I wonder if my mother came this way, with her blank brown eyes starved wide, rude pale her meager frame. I remember once she said to me, "In a perfect world, I'd make you princess of something, I suppose, and strictly forbid poems." Sweetly she sighed, but fearful to look upon, thin as cracked lips curling painfully up at the edges. I am only air swelling her gorgon mouth. Trembles her garden, black with forgotten orchids. I think of stairs where you padded softly, of terminal halls where you paced out the heart, and father's own hut, a wooden vault with dust and black willows scraping the walls, and your dull, empty room, an insurgent sun flickering again, fed on dry fumes. Yet something soon takes flight, and she rises sweetly again to nocturnal indigo marches. Trembles the air about you, nothing but embers, her love violet with twilight. With a turn of the neck and a tilt of the chin, she learns of stars that burn, in chaos begetting entire worlds. We learn there is no such thing as beginning and end. Would you, in your wise, wide eyes, deliver to me, in my outstretched hands, a stone? Crochet me into your sleep, weaving dreams in poetry from this darkly fraying patch.
Here's another house right here. You can't really go in there, but you can see on the inside. You can see the grass poking up, so it's just placed on the ground. On top of the grass, it looks like they drew the grass first and then put the model just placed on the
Don't
grass.
let it take all your life to learn you were alive, she said to me one drizzly dawn. How my blood swelled with you. In your world, you must be 1,000 feet tall, stunned by your own grandeur. Angled, mystical, not ungraceful, Colossus. You dismiss me with coolly delivered denouements. You always knew the proper place to end a poem. I feel you wringing them out, leaving the universe crippled in comparison. If you will, tear the sky and be satisfied. I never said you were beautiful, but my hands may know the texture of closed eyelids, jawline, and perhaps that cheekbone you furrowed with creaks, afraid of only age, of yawning paralytic time, and the absolute center you could forever unfind, and otherwise trusted mirrors. I cannot reach this thing inside. Instead, hope falls through your trembling fingers, confounding even the sky. You taught tender while stuffing softer hearts with bitter. From where I am, sepulchral among howling stones, your autumn leaf hands I would have held,
This is
hoping
another
to
route.
salvage a wraith-racked spirit. Will you not cry out? Will you not lay claim to these sedimentary spaces? Will you not stand and cry, this, and this is mine? This only I can fill. My tears cannot be heard in such silence.
Here's one of the texts right here. I'm not going to show all of them because I don't know where all of them are, but I'll show the ones I know where they are. She was damned since the moment she ate that frog from the swimming pool. She just could not stand a chance to lock tight and look right for another curse. Just like dwarves from a shiny little town, she disappeared into the mist formed by droplets of nothingness that precipitate upwards into the void of infinite infinity. If you remember that saying, that was that comes from the previous game Drizzlepath, where most of these writings come from. They're all from pretty much from the first game. This is the other path. Like there's this is the low path and that one was a high path. I'm just showing you both paths that you can take to go over to the cave over there. Plus there was that text over there I wanted to show you. So yeah, that's a high path, and this is a low path. It splits up right here. Just want to show you that. Yeah, what you do is you just listen to the music and the narration. It's just like an experience. None of this is like frustrating, or it's not like one of those games where you have to think. You just sit back and pretty much place your hands on the keys, or you can use the Q key like this to just move the arrow, and you don't have to hold down the key for like an hour. As I said, each route takes like an hour, so this is a very casual game, as is most of the early Toguc Bodur games were.
Burn on fragile phoenix. Burn and be done with it. You wept for your own unfulfilled sovereignty, your mourning wild with twilight. I would have held you when the floods came, gently rocking the terrors. I could have delivered you, in your ashes, from the salty wastes you consumed with fury. Bend never again to this wound. Still you bend, clutching your sides, travailing in chaos, then slowly turn and look at me and say, nothing. Still I wander this dark world, bootless on blackthorn, adrift on an empty sea.
There's two routes.
I wonder
way
if she
too.
walked this way. By what dreams lulled? I see her slender fingers, chewed up nails and all, trying to humbly fit themselves around gigantic teacups.
There's this road. That's a high road.
There is something in it that
It's a
makes
low
me
road.
sad. I just wish I could tell you. I wish I could have told you. Maybe together we could have understood.
Here's the cave you enter. Pretty neat design, the glowing symbols, these sparks or whatever that is. Look at this little reflection right there. Pretty neat design. But you enter the cave here. As I said, there were 2 ways to proceed there.
I saw a time when we gathered together in animal skins, hunched over fires in ancient caves, and murmured a millennial conversation. Under the aegis of leaf wine, I gather my furs about me and stare into the flames. A torch song of fire opals, languid as salamanders, a writhing nest of fire snakes, lazy ribbons of flame. A dream within a dream, lovelier than death, more beautiful than night.
This text reads, Madness, the Libellula realm in which you seek happiness. Madness. So that's a little text there. We're in this cave. This is not
It seems there was something we knew then, something important, long forgotten. What mysteries, scrawled on cave walls, to speak across the great spans of time? What heavy knowledge we ignored for so long that now it is too late? Or perhaps it is nothing. Every generation thinks themselves the cleverest yet. Perhaps they are just childish doodles from a simpleton folk, unable to render accurately even what they saw with their own eyes.
Okay, there's where you go, but you have to go this way, so I don't have to backtrack. I think it's yeah. And you gotta flip a switch over here. Right here. It's right there, actually. Little totem or statue or whatever you want to call it. It's neat how, like, Unreal Engine, they got these. This material can glow, which I'll talk about when I make Unreal Engine development videos, which I'm planning to do in the future, just to show you how to do certain things. I want to make my own tutorials. Press C key.
There we go.
The switch lowers those bars. That's what the switch does.
I dreamed I was entombed, and Mother pulled back the heavy stone lid of the sarcophagus. She said, "I'll not leave you on some high grid for the vultures to pick at. Child from my womb, a corpse in the tomb, my brittle pristine, I've come to clean the spaces between bare knuckles and gold rings. Fear not the worms, for we are vermivorous, even in long sleep. Fear not in your languid vertebrae. I've come to make scarabs of us." Often when it rains, I think of the fisher. He is a solitary man who lives outside the village, in a tiny hut he made himself, on the shoreline of the sea. He would spend long days casting his line in the waters, his skin brown from the sun. I never saw him wear shoes, and his clothes were nearly the rags of a beggar. His hair and beard were long and unkempt, as if never cut or combed once in his life.
There is no fabric of time that will let you keep listening to my sounds. You cannot just give an opportunity to anyone who follows you secretly. Okay, now you go this way, make like a V-turn, and you go up here. The sky moves so fast. Kind of neat.
The fisher never took a wife, and he had no children. No one knows from where he came. The villagers thought him eccentric, perhaps mad. He never ate the fish he caught, but traded them with the villagers for the simple goods of survival. I once saw him pick a grasshopper from a swaying reed, hold it gently in his hand as if marveling at its construction. Then he dabbed it with a bit of wild honey he had gathered and ate it whole. Once the fisher brought a line of beautiful fish to my father to trade for a basket. The fish were worth more than one simple basket, so my father offered him a net that he could use to catch more fish. He refused, saying, "Each fish is unique. They must be caught individually or not at all." So my father offered him a variety of baskets to keep the fish separate. Again he refused, saying, Once I have gathered them, I must carry them all together or not at all. I grew curious about the fisher, so one day I decided to go watch him fishing and perhaps speak with him. I sat on a rock not so far behind him. He didn't turn or look at me, but gazed far into the clear blue sky of the summer day, and said, "Looks like rain today. Where are your shoes, child?" It did not look like rain. I answered his question with one of my own. "Where are your shoes?" He replied, "I never had a need of them."
Okay.
And the path goes on and on and on. When one walks deliberately, with purpose and care, they have no need of shoes. But you run all the day long without shoes, not because you don't need them, but because you like to feel the ground beneath your feet, even if it hurts you sometimes. I thought how this was true, a truth I had not even thought of myself. "The villagers think you are a half-mad hermit," I offered. He laughed and cast his line again.
A little village here. Looks like an herbal building. That one's a bookstore with the signs on the ground. Houses are tilted. Potion shop. Lollipop. Ah. Magical lollipop. Little effects design there. A lot of the games I want to create, there's going to be a lot of good visuals and like terrain, like environmental design. I'm going to concentrate a lot on that, like ambient music and stuff on my games as well.
I suppose they may be right. If my concern for the world about me, being greater than my concern for myself, is madness, then yes, I am mad. He continued, "We should never want for more than we need, for that is the beginning of the end. The collecting of things beyond our need is, to me, the truer madness. In the endless collecting of things, we become heavy and burdened with possessions. After a time, it is the possessions that possess us."
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. The games that I will make are going to be very stunning, you might say, visually pleasing.
"Consider the fishes," he said. "They have no possessions and so can flit about on the waters, light and unburdened, free to swim anywhere. If they had possessions to carry, they would sink and die. This seemed obvious enough to me. Fish can't carry things anyway. Consider also the story of a king I once knew. I quietly laughed, as if the mad fisher cavorted with kings. I thought this very unlikely.
I'm kind of in the middle of also writing, stories for the games right now, and coming up with ideas. I haven't started because I'm still technically learning Unreal Engine, taking master classes. As I've said in other gameplay and review videos, I'm doing the Unreal Sensei masterclass and the Smart Poly masterclasses, and also YouTube videos on learning how to...
This king was master of all he surveyed, he went on.
Let's go over here first.
He gathered to himself all the riches and fine things of the world. His every desire was met, but still he wanted more. Possessed with accumulation, he neglected his kingdom, even his wife and only son. The more he gained, the more he wanted. He piled up all his treasure in a great storeroom and locked it away. But one day, his young son found the key and entered the chamber.
Hello, you remember yourself sealing the crooked windows shut, but not why you did it. You enjoy your freedom the same way a guinea pig enjoys his maze. That's another line from Drizzlepath.
The king heard a loud crash and ran to the treasure room. There he saw a great avalanche of gold, falling on his son and crushing him. Try as he could not pull the boy from the heavy flood. He dug and dug in the gold, but his son was lost. Too late did he feel the love he had for his only son. In the collecting of things, he ignored the only thing that really did matter. The king was consumed with grief and vowed to never possess another thing that he didn't need. He gave away all his treasure to the poor people of the kingdom and set out alone to live a life free of possessions. Was this mad fisher once a king? I found it very doubtful. You see, Lula, he said, we often learn too late what is really important in life. There is an old saying that the owl of wisdom only spreads its wings at twilight. What does it mean? I asked. He replied, it means that we only learn the valuable lessons when it is too late. We only decide to change when we are forced into it, with our backs against a wall. We can change at any time if we choose to, but we usually don't until it becomes necessary. In any event, there is always hope. And with that, I heard the sudden rumble of thunder as dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, and it began to rain. The fisher turned his face up to the sky and smiled into the rain. At last he turned to me with his wild but knowing eye and said, "Seek the middle way, Lula. Between all and nothing, find the middle way. But know that you will not find it out in the world. It is in a secret place that only you can find, and the greatest secret of all is that there is no secret. You will find the genie, and when you do, you will understand even the dreaming gods." I have to jump across. Then I knew he was truly mad. It made no sense. A secret? That there is no secret. But he spoke to me of the genie long before my dream, where the wizard told me to find it. Was it a dream? I can't remember. For all I know, it was real, and I am dreaming now. Are we all asleep and dreaming the world? Are the gods real? It is all beginning to confuse me very much. I can only hope that he was right about the genie. I should much like to reach the mountain before winter falls. I wonder if my mother came this way. Did she brave the storms and lean into the wind, pressing on? Turning back never seems an option, I know, having come this far myself. Sometimes in the wind, I think I can hear you singing to me. You sing the rains, you sing the snows to me. It makes me brave against the elements.
This is a secret way. Not much here. Just want to take a little. It's not really a shortcut. It's a long way, but there's a path right there, so you don't get too lost. And you can see the path that we came from was right there, and it continues on here. So yeah, this game is. I don't think there's a save feature or anything. I don't think.
How my mind has frozen on you, on a soul beautiful as first frost. I am snowblind, mad without footprints. Your coronal pallor, contoured and torpid as an angel's trumpet. I close my eyes and imagine you alone in a forest chapel, watching the snows fall on midwinter's eve. You see me through the window, standing alone in the dark pines, storm-torn and buffeted by the winds. You see me and slowly draw the curtains. I lean into the cold and think of the pale promise locked in winter. Though it is the dying of summer, the quietly encroaching cold hiding in leaves, it holds the expectancy of spring. A diminuendo of green sadly passes, but will keep warm the winter long and clutch the memory of warmth in our hearts. Though spring promises nothing of herself in returns, and summer swears no shrift of conscience in its leave-taking, we sing. We may come to regret that we rued the florid heat of summer, even as it slips always away again. We may yet sing of birth and rebirth, as the new grass lights the air and meadow birds sing with us. Winter groans in sheets of ice and burdens of snow, but in that voice we hear the promise of spring. With mittened hands cupped against the cold, we sing of life and light again the candles of hope.
Now that I have seen the imperial waves, I would like to say he stayed on top and made me feel like a fool until the next morning, which might as well never come, and stop the decay of your cold bloodstains. Could I have been lied to? Were both the gas mask and the trash can really necessary? We did not need no competition, no magic trick to drizzle my path, as it will soon reach the heavens, so your son's unextended life can be felt in your family cocktail party. Do not cry till the candles blow up your crimson face. And you remember that from Drizzlepath, as you right when the scene changes to the storm at the end of the Drizzlepath. That's where that's from.
Not much left, I guess.
There's a dragon. You'll ride it later. There's a statue up there, which we're headed towards. We're over 2/3 done with the game. On this path anyway. I'll be doing the longer other route later.
There there
I
are
like-
those who simply never choose a path. They know that neither extreme is balanced, that they cannot find the middle path, and so they become frozen in a stasis of indecision. Distracted by anything and following the whims of the day, they seek to fill the emptiness with any passing fancy. They too seek the genie, but they do not know why, and so become lost. Even with unmoving eyes they see me. They would eat me alive if they could. I often think of my very first memory as a child. It was the spring thaw, when the blankets of snow began to melt, the sun shined its warmth, and the birds began to sing again. In my mother's frozen garden was a stone that had cracked, buckled by the cold. And there in the crack was a single tiny white flower, a bloom of only 4 petals. It bravely opened to face the world and greet the sun, as if in defiance of death itself. I knelt by the little snowflower and wondered at it. Here was life in the midst of frozen nothingness. It seemed precarious, tender, so unlikely in its setting. But there must be some hidden strength in it to have emerged here, overcoming the elements and the odds. It seems a fortunate incident of nature, like life itself, perhaps not magical, but wonderful that it has occurred. Even at that age, the flower made me ponder the teachings of the shamans. They told of how the world is dreamed up by the sleeping gods, and that when we die, we will join them in their dream of paradise and live forever. But I have seen birth and death, and know that they are different. I witness the workings of the world and think it natural, not the magical dreaming of imaginary gods.
A crow and a pregnant goblin both stalking a rude man beneath a broken bridge as a death machine is built in a faraway land. The majestic audience can play a game for $60 and make a toddler so happy for a minute or two. Does a billionaire have to feel sorry for not being able to ease the pain of his own fall into the pool of mud? At least us mere mortals can take our chances and dance on top of a wooden truck on a highway. Well, you can see this game isn't that
I cannot tell my thoughts to anyone.
exciting.
They would think me blasphemous, or even mad, to question the shamans. They would think I had lost sight of the truth, of the mysterious, magical workings of life itself. They would think me irreverent, at the very least. But it is not so. Considering the triumph of the tiny flower in the midst of a frozen garden, I have a profound reverence for the unlikely presence of life. say that life is simply magic is, to me, of less value than if it developed as an inevitability in the infinite spans of time, and gained a foothold enough to thrive against all the odds. Life is a champion of chance. There is more awe and wonder in this truth than to simply dismiss it as the providence of some great and mystical unknowable. It is made all the more special by its unlikelihood.
Used to make funny sounds while we were laying on the carpet. For no reason would his love end by the line drawn by your certain death. We have to keep on climbing up the mountain of fire, despite all the lies and curses. There will be no more witchery curses around the neighborhood for 4 years. This is the reason why she will burn in your love until the end of time. Say no more, just say no more. I miss the old melodies, especially the ones that opened our journey. Play it and I will remain silent.
Maybe I'll just step on the air. There we go. Tucked between twin expanses of endless nothing, here, for a brief and shining moment, is something, rare and beautiful life. It sings in me, and I know that I am. Joy fills my heart, and I know that I will never squander a moment of life, however long or brief it may be. We live, we laugh, we learn and grow old. We love and we die. Between birth and death, we have this one chance to just let it be beautiful.
Now we're ascending the mountain. The game is almost done. Just ascending to the top of the mountain.
Though the sky itself cracks open and falls to the ground, the world trembling with change, I have no fear. I feel that soon my path will end, and I know not what I will find. But I have had this time, this one chance to truly be alive. I have lived and loved. Along with heartache and loss, I have known beauty and joy. Even if the end is upon me, I consider how fortunate I've been to have this one brief, shining moment. I have lived, and that is more than enough.
Look at the view. There's where we started, I think. Those floating rocks over there. You can see we've been all over here. There's the red stuff over there. There's an island right there.
I found no answers along the path, only more questions. What is the genie? What does it do? Who made it, and where is it from? I shall soon find out. Perhaps it will answer all my questions. I have considered that it may pose more questions than answers, and feel that somehow I already know the answers. And now I see.
And so our journey ends here. It is about time to wake your Apache friends up and celebrate the second chance you have just been given to look around you and find the door in the higher walking experiences in real life. There's the dragon.
That must be the genie. Solid, inanimate, but somehow organic. And there, next to it, stands the wizard that spoke to me in my dreams. As I draw nearer, I can hear his voice again, that strange sound with unmoving lips that I can understand as words. "Lula," he said, "you have made it to the mountain of fire, and now stand before the genie. You have chosen to face your fears along the shortest path. In facing the darkness of your mind, you have conquered yourself. You have learned that the answers to your questions are within you. You have learned hope. The path you have chosen is the shortest path, and so you are victorious. Your arrival precedes that of the other wizard who sought to curse you. Still he wanders the other path, having chosen what he thought was the easiest way. Now you may lay your hand on the genie, and the program will continue." "Program?" I asked. "I don't understand. What is the genie?" "The genie," he began, "is a computational construct, what we call a processor. As an operating administrator, I have introduced a packet of data into the genie. It arranges the data into information that runs a program. This program is called Lula. Your first moment of being was just before you chose the path." "You see, Lula," he continued, "this world and everything in it, all your memories and dreams, your mother, your father, and Rofesso have been created by you. You have arranged the data into a stream of consciousness that will not become real until you lay your hand on the genie and verify the information. You will return to your village where your mother and father happily await you. The program will be set and will continue to run indefinitely. Your people will be free to choose their own paths in life. You will forget that you began as a program. You will be free to run anywhere you like, to live the life you choose and grow old. Free to laugh and learn, and perhaps most importantly, you will be free to love. What about the other wizard, I wondered. Once you verify, he replied. The bug in the system that you think of as the other wizard will be deleted. Thank you for this learning experience. How could I choose otherwise? I slowly reached out my hand and laid it on the genie. It felt warm, humming with life. I see the world I have created as it becomes real. I feel myself forgetting that it started as a program. What does it matter? I will be with my mother and father again. We will be free and happy. And now I have a story to tell. Was it a dream or a memory? I do not know, but let it begin. Once upon a time,
Well, there you have it. That is the end of the first route, the good ending. The second ending, the bad ending, is a whole different route with different scenery and different paths you can take, and a different narration, and pretty much different experience. It's a little bit longer of a route, so it'll take a little bit longer. And that's what I will be doing next. This game has pretty good narration and pretty good music. And on to the next part of the video, which will be the right path, also the greenish blue route. It is different. Yes, we're going to experience the next route now. Okay, now I'm going to be playing the other route, the bad ending, the ending where you do not meet the genie, and also known as the right path. So, here we go.
Once upon a time. Isn't that how stories are supposed to begin? That is how my mother always began her stories. But why can't they end that way? Because the ending is usually when the promise of everlasting happiness is proclaimed. What are stories if not the memories of our people? And if memory is any clue, there is no guarantee of happiness. Is it just a myth that there is any such thing as happily ever after? Memory is a broken mirror, fragments of reflective glass and fractures of light, gleaming in brilliance for a moment before fading forever into vague washes of soft color and deepening shade. Sometimes, the harder we try to focus on them, the more they fade and slip from our grasp. Beautiful shards that, when taken all together, make us who we are. Memories or dreams. Sometimes it is impossible to tell the difference.
Okay, here we are at the same farm with the little town down there with the dock and the lake or the ocean, wherever it is.
Last night in my dreams, a mysterious wizard came to me. He spoke in a foreign voice, a series of strange sounds that formed a single word. In that word was a message that I understood. He said that I had been chosen, and at the same time, cursed. Lula, he said, because of your gifts of both endurance and vision, you have been chosen to retrieve the sacred relic of your people, the genie. But another wizard, who wants the genie for himself, has cursed you with the inability to run. Even now he makes his way to the top of the mountain to claim it as his own. You must reach the genie before him and learn its purpose, its power, for if he takes possession of it, you will be further cursed with the inability to walk. You and your people will never again be free to choose your own path. So make haste, child. Do not tarry. Though the path is long, it is the shortest. Though the path is not easy, it is simple. Though you walk alone, fear not. I will be with you. But you will soon have an important choice that only you can make. And that choice will make all the difference. Thus, I woke to a morning of light drizzle, and under the soft light of early dawn, began to walk towards the mountain of fire. Life in the village has fallen out of balance since the genie disappeared. Before then, we had the freedom to choose our own paths in life. But now they are decreed by the shamans when we come of age. There are hunters and fishers, collectors and keepers, weavers and walkers. Only one path has ever been chosen for each person. Until me. The shamans decreed that I am both weaver and walker. Weavers do not just weave fish baskets and blankets, they are also weavers of words, poets and storytellers. They keep the history of our people and weave their words into the warp and woof of every textile. Walkers are the wanderers and wanderers, the dreamers and askers of questions. They are the seekers of whatever light they may find to illuminate the darkest corners of hearts and minds. Of all that have walked away from the village, none have returned.
Okay, this is the decision point yet again. That was the path that we took last time, the red path, the short path, the good ending path. And now we're going to take the long way, the right path, the bad ending, the bluish green path. So let's hang a right and get started. This will be a whole nother experience. There are lots of different things to see a different narration, different music for, I think, and just a different outcome. So you get two different stories, depending on what path you take. As usual, you do the Q key to just automatically walk, so you don't have to hold down the W key.
I remember as a child, running with bare feet on the freshness of the world. I thought that none could ever lay bounds before me. I ran with joy among the head-high grasses and spent long days gathering up the foxtails and bluebells. I wove them with song into idols of innocence. Then I learned that we lay our own bounds by the choices we make. We invent our limits, give them names, and revere them with fear and awe.
A group of carrots. Nice little effect there.
Spring is my favorite season, when foxglove and bluebells fill the fields and wakes me in a reverent temperance. I walk with awe in what seems to me the first garden of innocence, but we know that story always ends in exile. Still, spring holds me in her pallid modesty. Her sanguine nights sing me alive with hopeful expectation. Spring is a dormant beauty that wakes herself with thunders, reticent and wanting. As if unsure of herself, the languid roots of spring slowly unmire themselves, sallow in the vegetable black. Slow, but strong enough to cast out the quick of winter and buckle stone. This is the scent of warm rain, exhaling her heart in quiet resignation, a verdant whispering of sprouts. Her tremulous love opens rivers and savages veins. In any event, by the casting off of clouds, she seems certainly resigned to shine.
Some woods over there. The hilarious smell of the misty mountains gathers so much hopes and so many memories in just no repetition. It swears to its relatives by the momentum and the cosmic force of all the gods who are waiting for a sign. It will be their most unique alternative to drag into her arms, their only hope to achieve a disaster. Some ogres yell at their mother, just to be clear. That's another poem. I forgot what that's from, but I vaguely remember it.
The winter long we waited, with patient urgency, for spring's pristine rhythms to break the spell of frost. Her feast of lights and flowering fires announce a promise fulfilled. She holds me in her lightness, delivers me from heavy knowledge, and sings me sweetly to love. I surrender, unwanting, in the gentle accord of propagation. Her strength is in her long sleep, when awakens the animal soil, harnessing the sun itself. Should I have walked to the left from the... Spring wakes and gathers herself about me in tangles of light. When it rains, reigns she in me, generating new life among the stones and monuments. When she sleeps, dreams she in me, casting out the shade and rot. When she sings, sings she in me, when her voice and everything after colors me so beautiful. When she rises, rises she in me, holding me in her waking and opening to me the virgin sky. What are these ruins? Who built them and when? In the absence of information, the mind imagines what it will. Perhaps it is a monument built to commemorate something lost, or the beginnings of a city aborted in cataclysm. Perhaps it is a shrine built by acolytes of a long-forgotten principle, now gone from the world. Though I have never been here before, it feels familiar to me, perhaps in a dream. Dreams are the graven gods of memory, whispers of our world seen through cubed glass. So said the potter on one of my many visits to his workshop. He spun clay and mud into useful vessels, but his passion was glass. His shop was filled with glass vessels and ornaments of every color. Flooded with light, his shop itself became a dancing chromatic prism. Every vessel was filled with a colored liquid, and I wondered at each one in turn.
That must be a potion shop. There's not one of those things. As you can see, it's a much different terrain and a much different narration and much different music, different tone to the whole thing.
Sapphire phylacteries and emerald filters, ruby crucibles and cobalt cryospheres, all connected with glass tubes and an intricate maze of wonder. I pestered him as he worked. "What is this? What's in this one? What is that?" His answers were always cryptic, only half attentive. With thick glass lenses affixed to his eyes, he rarely looked up from his work. He used words I had never heard before or since, beautiful words I couldn't possibly remember. One word he used often enough that I remember, philosophia. He said it meant for love of wisdom. I wondered if he wasn't making up his own language. He picked up a thick square bottle of sky blue and turned it in the light, peering through it. Dreams are the graven gods of memory, whispers of our world. His thoughts seemed to drift as I noticed a small jar that stood out from the rest. It contained a liquid black as pitch, darker than night without stars. What is this one? I asked, trying my best to see through the black opaque. Ah, this one, he said with genuine awe. This one is special. Though it seems to be void of color, in fact it is every color. It is not just one thing, it is all things. He picked up a feather and dipped the pinion in the black liquid. While you see opaque nothingness, in truth is infinite possibility. On a piece of starched vellum, he wrote a single word: Genie. You see, he showed me the word, the stone is not a stone. He looked at me as if I should understand, but I clearly did not. Continued writing and said dismissively, Go home, child. Go to sleep and dream. Ponder the genie. Perhaps then you will have learned something. I left, but did not return home. As the sun set, I lay in the tall grass and looked as far as I could into the darkening sky, whispering the word he had written. I slept and dreamed. In my dream, I saw all that the potter had written. It was not the words I saw, but the meaning of them, as if they were the images themselves, cast upon my sleep in a soft voice. Shh. Listen, he said. A great hush is cast upon all that has passed before. There is no greater love than this, to be so taken up, here on the blue plains, these idle ruins crushed softly to sleep, a dry stirring of angel grass and the silence of sunfall. Listen, in the dying of this song from my lips, how the world came down like life from the night. And look, how unlike an angel sits she on high, calculating her potency in the arithmetic of parts. She may condescend, groundwards bending, to mechanical consideration. Her pantropic gestures seldom reach me, though I strain in my sinew. Shards of futility fly against her concentrated prowess. In such open expanses, exhalations anguish over themselves, seizing the mist I had hoped was breath. a forever unfolding deeper than skin, astonished in a swarming hive of stars and constellated light. How she wept for her own sovereignty, the sky stricken in the rictus of her dimensions, her small presence bending, etching glyphs with a willow stick in the sands of my ruin. She etched comets of shining wing, spiral dance of all-seeing eyes, carbolic unctions and every feathered thing, a metastasis of miseries. Happiness, her saddest magic, she renders with the pretense of meaning, monstrous and formidable purity. Prettily stern, her lips pressed in overwrought intensity. In pneumatic murmurings, she teaches the crackling of winter trees, the leaning of midnight weeds.
There's a couple houses right here.
Like wounded moths and wind-sick orchids, the hands of the world are so small and pale. She laments, how sweetly in me once she sang, and how now so high and away. How sound the mountain, still unmoved by me, and I, less than heroic, I strain with self-laid chains across my brow, cast quite down and apart. Gone, ungolden, this paramount overkill of permanent unlasting. Look, from the colossal and most ancient of thrones, unburnished even now, and desert brown, sand casts the seraphic armrests, no misericordia against the indifferent palaver, rising always in fragile wisps from unclean throats, the misbegotten children of prayer. My prayer. Rise and bend again, she swears. I would eat the shadows of the world if I thought there was light through the trees and such a thing as hope.
Okay. Continuing along this path. Oh, there it is. Over here. Another house here. over here. Yeah, there's a path. Lost it for a minute.
Already we feel the harpies nesting among her branches. Her beauty among us, her presence, suspends the flow of time, defeats the lower laws of nature. Freed from such loosely bound sense, unblinded by unknowing, the infinite horizon expands even as it recedes. Her eyes, only dimly lit now, dull and brown, widen as if to better fit knowledge. The morning sighs in infinite resignation of her falling. A final bending in the heavy plunge, surging immaculate. Suicidal shafts of early daylight guide the sickening plummet in entire murders of unwinged crows. A scarlet thrush battering the air. The liquid trill of tanager and tautrix heralds us, the aristocrats of truth. She falls to purge what prose such dark miracles may, in glyphs and lying charms. Remember, she warned, poetry loves a martyr.
Jump over that.
In the folding of this song from my lips, how she came down like light from nothing, to salvage something beautiful from all this horror, this mindless hour, when the world blackens beneath her, some shining thing cleaned of its ashes, and brightly to signal those lost to sea. In such a land we take no notice of broken statuary. Being such as we are, we'll grind the stone, rubble worked to meal and mortar, foundations of torso, arms of empire.
She was damned since the moment she ate that frog from the swimming pool. She just could not stand a chance to lock tight and look bright for another curse. Just like drawers from a shiny little town, she disappeared into the mist formed by droplets of nothingness that precipitate upwards into the void of infinite infinity. I think we read that on the other path. But there you go.
Being such as we are, we make paste of angel bone, broken idol quite fallen, uncrowned of laurels, sprinkled as bone meal in the furrows of the world, a sign waiting to be found, unsearched for. Her presence purifies dialect, giving birth, even in death, to black sons of revelation. She bestows an ephemeral royalty to our chaos, grants us impatient endurance. Ransacked and ravished, she brandishes over pale winter the flowering scepter of her disdains. And the path goes on and on and on. We adored her star in its blue-green burning, kindled her heart in ancient caves, and mantled the world in her first love. Forgive us our birth. Our lips have not yet drunk the utterance of your several storms. In the lifting of this dream from my slumber, how the dawn came down like water from nothing. There is no greater love than this. She sleeps, quiet as death and more lovely, wrecked but shouldering thunders. I remember waking in the dewy blue field at dawn and rushing back to see the potter. I knew that Mother and Father would be worried and looking for me, but I had to have some answers about this dream. The potter was still writing at his desk, candles burnt down to stumps. At some point in the night, he had made a beautiful clay chalice that now lay in pieces on the floor. He didn't even look up. Go home, child. You have all the answers you will ever have. I returned home where my father greeted me with silent hugs and a knowing look. He is a weaver, not only of fibers, but of words. He keeps the stories of the people and tells them as he weaves, so our history is in the warp and woof of every basket, every blanket, every winter cap. I remember sitting with him among the standing stones in the reaping season when the grasses had grown as tall as me. His voice was in tune with the dry seed pods scraping along rock as they swayed in the breeze. He pinched off the stalks of 3 and began to braid them together as he spoke. "Do you know why you're special, Lula?" he asked. "Because I am the youngest, I guessed," he laughed. "And so shall you always be." It looked like he was making a bracelet with the grass braid. But there is something else that makes you rare among our people. I am a weaver, this you know. Some are hunters, others are foragers, some are builders, while others are collectors. Just as your mother was a walker, born with a fierce curiosity to explore beyond the next horizon.
Magical lollipop. Sword. Another artifact right there.
He stopped braiding for a moment as his eyes squinted at the horizon, as if hoping to spot something very far away. Then, in a near whisper, "You are rare among our people because you are both weaver and walker. You are something more than both. You are a maker." And with that he took my hand, slipped the grass bracelet around my wrist, and said, "Remember that almost nothing is ever what it seems. Beneath the surface is layer upon layer of history, all the little things that together make the whole." Knowing this, there can never be good or bad, dark or light. Things only seem this way because we don't know the whole story. Even now you are choosing your path and making your own story. But your story is special because it will become the history of our people. One day you will have an important decision to make that will determine the story of all of us. He stood and smiled down at me. What is life if not the longest introduction? You will meet the genie, and perhaps, more importantly, the genie will meet you. He spoke of the genie long before my dream, where the wizard told me to find it. How could my father have known? Perhaps that is where my mother went, away to find the genie. She never wanted to be a walker, and thought she should have been a weaver. She seemed sad all the time, until, one day, she simply walked away. Perhaps she came this way. If she found the genie, what did she find?
Blue mushrooms. We're in a cave.
can I open that? Ta-da! I remember the miller when he still lived in the village, before he moved the mill deep into the forest and away from people. He had been making strange machines that ran on water power, sometimes very hot water. He made machines for work, for moving and lifting heavy things, for cutting and clearing trees, very strong machines with wheels and cogs and noisy parts. The people became afraid and began to whisper that the miller was quite mad. One day he caught me playing too close to the big water wheel. He took me by the hand and sat me down on a recently hewn stump. Sitting across from me, he said, "I know you, Lula," in a soft, soothing voice, sounding not at all mad. "You are the weaver's child. I see you running and exploring like no other. You have an inquisitive mind, and that's good. We are not so very different, you and I."
Floating house. It's a water mill.
"The people say you are mad. They are afraid of your machines," I said. His brow furrowed as he looked towards the village center where people were going about their daily business. In hushed tones he said, "Do you know what the people are really afraid of, truly deep down? They are afraid of learning their true nature. They fear the truth about what they are. He looked back to me as a nearby machine stopped working and looked towards us. It seemed to be listening. Is this the wrong way? You see, Lula, the miller continued, they are afraid that the machines may one day develop their own intelligence and begin to make their own decisions, that they will, in a way, be just as alive as them. This frightens them because it would prove their notions about life to be wrong. It would mean that life is not magic, but a natural, inevitable occurrence of sufficient time and conditions. A light seemed to glow in his eyes as they pierced deep into my own. What they are really afraid of is that the reflection they see in the mirror is also just a machine, a wonderful biological mechanism, but a machine nonetheless. They think themselves free, but in their willful ignorance, they are as free as guinea pigs in the maze. Their life is out of balance. He let out a long sigh and said, "Now, be on your way, Lula. The machines grow restless without work to do." He stood and began to walk away, then paused and looked back at me. "Stay curious, Lula, child of the weaver. Never stop exploring. Never give up hope. Find the genie, and most importantly, question everything." Question everything. His admonition echoes in my sleep and weaves its way into my dreams. Dreams that the shamans say are proof of the gods. Could they be wrong? Will the machines learn to dream? If they become free to make their own choices, to choose their own path, will they be good choices? Will they be kind? It all sounds so absurd. Surely there is not enough time in all the world for them to develop intelligence. Perhaps the miller was mad after all. The stories of the shamans seem much simpler and easier to understand. Is it wrong to question what you are taught? Will it make me also mad if I question everything? If I doubt the stories told by the shamans, surely they will think me mad. And worse, they may think I am wicked. But I know in my heart that I am not. So perhaps it would be best not to question the shamans. They are the wisest of our people and surely can't be wrong. Can't find Genie by just walking. I dreamed of a time when the machines had grown their own intelligence and built their own village, a shiny little town of dwarves. They busied themselves with building and making a place of their own in the world. But where were the people? As I wondered, a tiny machine with huge spectacles appeared before me. Instantly, I saw what had happened to all the people. I saw a plaque on a dry shoreline amidst smoldering ruins. It said, "We were here." It can't really be said that we did the best we could. As I walk, I wonder what I will find at the top of the mountain of fire. I have only heard of the genie in stories and have never seen it myself. I feel awe, and with it, more than a little fear. Can there be reverence without fear? Awe without mystery? We seek answers but resist them when they threaten the notions we feel. Often, we prefer to dwell in the dreams of the heart than in the truth of the mind. The genie has power, this much I know. Life, out of balance. I remember the miller's words. Is it our nature to think ourselves somehow separate from all other things? We do seem to perceive in extremes, light or dark, good or bad, happy or sad. When we follow any extreme path, life falls out of balance and we become grotesque caricatures of ourselves. Inside we become like a pregnant goblin, forever travailing but never giving birth. Empty vessels obsessed with fullness. Perhaps our true nature is neither extreme. Path and a life in balance is the middle path. But where is this middle path? I have not seen or heard it, though I cry out, "Hello!" in the unpopulated wilds. I seem to be alone. I want to give an opportunity to someone who has followed me secretly, a chance to walk with me. But it seems unlikely as chickens that swim for anyone to change the path they have chosen. I dreamed of a brightly colored carnival that came to the village. A dark storm threatened on the horizon, and the winds battered the tents and streamers. A hawker in a top hat cried out from a grandstand, "Come one, come all, test your wits and guile in the house of mystery. Adventure or horror, it is up to you. A game of $60 for the majestic audience." Lines of people with blank eyes, starved wide, filed in slow procession into the tent. There are those who simply never choose a path. They know that neither extreme is balanced, but they cannot find the middle path, and so they become frozen in a stasis of indecision. Distracted by anything and following the whims of the day, they seek to fill the emptiness with any passing fancy. They too seek the genie, but they do not know why, and so become lost. Even with unmoving eyes they see me. They would eat me alive if they could. Though I have not seen much life along this path, I look for it. I thought I saw a stag out the corner of my eye, fleet-footed into the forest. Or perhaps it was just a memory rising to the surface. I remember walking idly through the forest one day, simply enjoying the green scent of the air and the singing of the birds, when my idyll was disrupted by a crashing through the trees. It was a stag that seemed frightened and injured, as its legs buckled beneath it, and it fell to the ground at my feet. I could see that it was shot through with an arrow. I recognized the work of the Fletcher from our village. His shot was not true, and I wondered how far the stag had run before collapsing. How long had his fear and pain been drawn out? His chest heaved with struggling breath. He fought to breathe his last. I knelt and lay his muzzle in my lap. I stroked his fur and lied to him in whispers that it was okay. It would be better. His eyes seemed to plead with me. He did not want to die. but could not live any longer. Then, a final exhalation, a susursus of blood-flecked air from his steaming muzzle, and he was still. Silence blanketed the world, broken only by my sobs. Why did I have to witness this? Why did I have to be the
That's
one?
strange. There's a dragon right there. Whee! There you go. Down that side.
Where the heck is this thingy? I have held the dying in my arms and whispered them to better worlds. Worlds that I no longer believe exist. That moment, I was changed forever. Something shattered in my heart and was forever lost. There could be no gods that allowed this. There could be no magical place, free from pain and suffering, to greet us after death. The shamans were fools, feeding lies to the people to keep them placated. Such lies are not only false, but cruel. It makes people go through their lives in apathy, in expectancy of something better to come. It lessens the value of this life, this one brief and shining moment of light tucked between the twin expanses of infinite nothing. We squander our lives as if in rehearsal. We wait and hope as the unretrievable moments slip by. I know now, faith is the cruelest lie. Let the sky itself fall and the world be broken. What do they care, those that live in hopeful expectancy of death's dream kingdom? They are empty, ciphers without any knowledge other than what is given to them. They amble about the world in apathy and love it not. The truth is, the only thing that they love is themselves. They believe what they want to believe for fear of death, for fear of the knowledge that life ends. They have found in their faith a loophole, a way out of the truth, thinking they will cheat death itself, or that death is simply not real. It is only a transition, a relocation of some imaginary life-bearing magic that animates them. In blissful ignorance, they willfully blind themselves to the truth. Even as the world tears itself apart, they would rejoice and smile in glee. There is much in it that angers me. Let's jump across the gap.
Oh, strike. This one's tricky. Okay, that was weird. There. Got it.
Having once believed, they can never again learn otherwise. Their faith is the end of knowledge. They don't want answers, thinking they have them all already. If you doubt them or ask them to reconsider their belief, they will be angry and hate you. You will be wicked in their eyes, and they will violently defend their faith. I cannot face them again and wish only for a dark place to huddle and hide away from such madness.
Into another cave.
I remember, or was it a dream? I remember when the first plumes of fire smoke rose in vitriolic deltas, like inky rivers of decay, and flowing straight up to the last oceans of clean blue. I remember padding quietly, haunches covered in pelts, when all the world stretched forth to my desire. I remember rising from caves, where we had huddled for warmth, and I wondered, who shall lay bounds before me this bright morning? I remember when cities were planted and swords yanked in living roots from the tender gums of crystalline caves. When the dread smith bellowed his forge in volcanic violence. Andirons red raw with a new lust that gleams on sweating brows. Black pupils, the augury of eyes too long acquainted with muck. The shining eyes of a people familiar with black alluvium scooped in eddies from early spring monsoons. I remember a time when calendars and lunar travailing were discerned in coiling mandalas, breathing stars born in calculations on the wake of deluge. When you gazed overlong on the bones, dipped glad hands in steaming viscera of bulls, eager at the searing ides of day. I remember the sun was with us when we fed entrails on altars of horn to thunder itself, when the grim sky required obeisance, burning sweetly to him the incense of slaughter. I remember the supplications of trusted mares on cut stone, slabbed in blood grooves, metallic the scent of stallions sweating, fierce the mad flaring, the pounding of pent grass to powder. Being such as we are, we took no notice of our falling. Being afraid, we ground angel bone to paste, meal and mortar for the new dispensation. I remember the wind requires etiquette, specific manners, and, do not doubt it, hygiene. Here, hunger matters. When tablets of law are cut from rocks recently forbidden, it was said that they give meaning to dreams and cast out the dread of stark, gaping oblivion. I remember when springs emerged in the desert to unbind the new colt's eyes, when monks of every robe gather prone in the seedless crucible, tears burning on upturned faces, groaning in song, a resonating mantra of living prayer forms. Here, thirst matters.
Gotta open that thing.
That should do the trick. I remember when camels and flies infected the dust in septic streets, a gilded city split like cordwood to the four winds, grubby cisterns of bitumen sliced in dolorous roads and broken on empty bread, when mustard weeds wilted in the zenith, trampled under cloven hooves of shining military processionals, spectacles of bronze and terror. Armored of locust, chitinous carapace of beetle, mantids praying and praying. Not much left, I guess.
Out of one cave into another.
This weary dirt, I remember we came seeking balm for disobedience. With hot anvils we beat the air itself to tongues of golden light, flames to speak the unspeakable word of silence. When the mouth of forever gaped its throat across hot dunes, contours bald of grain and variation, I remember there is a history, certainly, all but forgotten in dusty halls, woven with contempt and plucked apart by unsteady hands, trembling
nice.
in catharsis.
Look at this. I like this cave design. Jump.
Ta-da! They said a stone is history, draining its temperance from the cool shade of palms. A stone is history, and an effective bludgeoning device. I remember when the old men whispered of outlanders, "Let them have their wandering, we have our roots of mud and blood." The old men grow dim in their eyes and weep to tell of great blue marches, swaying grasses, infantries of floral abundance. They tell of silk-skinned seraphs that live on the other side of the polluted sky, cream-colored in milk and honey. They gather in cavalcades, rank upon rank in the empire of after. They tell of a time with trees, great oaks that shaded deep forests. They blame the will of the thunder and pray in the living radiance of the sun. And they wonder, who shall lay bounds before me this bright morning?
Magic carrots. Swift sway.
I have to jump across.
Here's another cave. Okay, gotta go swim now. Some kind of portal.
What is it I have seen? A fever dream? Fragments of memory? But they are not my memories. They are the memories of a people doomed. I saw the end of their world, their sky broken, not in apocalyptic striations, but in a slow burning. Their end was hard and bitter agony, a long drawn-out whimpering of life. They held out hope until the very last, hope that it wasn't true, hope for something better to come. I saw fields of corpses, flags planted in the ground and burning. I saw millions gathered at a black stone, like ants, on their knees, while the world burned around them. They did nothing but hope. I had always thought that hope was a good thing, but it blinded them to the truth. I saw a young mother looking up to the sky, shielding her infant from the sun. Her tears were the only water I saw. After the burning came winter, an eternal winter that locked the remaining life in its grip. All fell silent. A great hush was cast upon all that had passed before. Their world became a frozen tomb. There were none to witness the snows fall, none to catch the gleam of light prismed through a single snowflake, none to hum a sad tune for the fallen, none to ever witness beauty again, though beauty remained. The thought makes me weep. There is no greater love than to be remembered. It is the least I can do. It is the closest we may come to immortality. Perhaps that is what they sought, simply to never end. I can't blame them. The fear of death is great. Fear of the great unknown. Fear that the end is just the end of awareness and all sensation. It is impossible to imagine the absence of imagination, and so we tend to imagine something there, something beyond all ending. I have traveled far along this path and begin to despair that it will ever end. What is the genie? I started with joy in my heart and reverence for spring, but now the cold terror and numb beauty of winter grips me. Spring seems impossible and feeble in comparison. Branches bare as bony hands are dull reminders of a season stirring deep in the blood. This is the time of longing, the stark contrast of white on white. What is spring compared to this madness of perfect and complete nothing? The truth is, winter never leaves us. It lives on in the damp, stony soil of spring's crippled rising. She is asleep in the dark roots, tremulous fingers that grope for the mystery of unknown warmth. She can make no promises of her return, though she sings in my blood like rain. It is winter, and we are only waiting. I have become a study of pale shades riddled into the frost, a scrying of ice on a brittle window. These are the days of extreme white, in bone-chilling blasts of frozen dawn. The sky itself groans in cyclopean cloud banks of funerary marble. Through the driven winds and ruptured stone, through this desolate failing of whirling winter, I feel the cold loneliness of the world. I cup my hands over my steaming mouth and try not to cry. I started this path with such hope in my heart, and now I feel only despair. What good is hope when life is full of heartache and loss? None may feel our joys or sorrows. We are truly alone in the world. What is the point of it all? It seems so senseless. I never asked to be alive, cast into life against my will, without a choice. It is a curse. My bare feet are bloodied and bruised from this journey. My only hope left is that it will soon end.
There's a dragon.
I found no answers along the path, only more questions. What is the genie? What does it do? Who made it? And where is it from? I shall soon find out. Perhaps it will answer all my questions. I have considered that it may pose more questions than answers, and feel that somehow I already know the answers. And now I see.
Okay, here we are coming up to the end. Look how far up we are.
There is no genie. Instead, I see the wizard that spoke to me in my dreams. As I draw nearer, I can hear his voice again. That strange sound with unmoving lips that I can understand as words. Lula, he said, you have made it to the mountain of fire. Unfortunately, you have chosen to avoid your fears along the longest path. You have learned that there are no answers in this choice. In avoiding the darkness of your mind, you have succumbed to it. You, who started this journey with infinite potentiality, have since lost all hope. The path you have chosen is the longest path, and so the other wizard has preceded you here. He has taken the genie, and even now is at work to end this program. You will never walk again. Your mother, father, and Rofesso will cease to be, and the world as you know it will be gone forever. Program? I wondered. I don't understand. I began to cry. What is the genie? I needed to know. The genie, he explained, is a computational construct, what we call a processor. As an operating administrator, I have introduced a packet of data into the genie. It arranges the data into information that runs a program. This program is called Lula. Your first moment of being was just before you chose the path. You see, Lula, he continued, this world and everything in it, all your memories and dreams, your mother and father, have all been created by you. You have arranged the data into a stream of consciousness that seems real to you. The other wizard, as you think of it, is a bug in the system. Since you chose the longest path, he has had time to corrupt the data, and so now the program must end. Without hope for this world, you are incapable of verifying the data. Thank you for this learning experience. The grass bracelet my father made came unbound from my wrist and fell to the ground. I saw all the world fading before me, the memory of my mother and father slipping away. Myself, a light dimming in the darkness and flickering out. Sorrow overwhelmed me as the wizard said, "Goodbye, Lula. Terminating function. End program." Then silence. Nothingness gaped before me. My final thought, regret. I would have had a story to tell. It would have begun. Once upon a time.
Okay, that's That's the end of the other route. The long path, the bad ending. It was almost 2 hours long. Much longer than the good path. Okay, now that I have reviewed both of the good and bad routes and endings, now I will do the third game mode, which is Ride the Dragon, where you get to take a dragon flight around the land of Drizzlepath Genie. It's a scripted ride. You can't really control the dragon, I don't think. You just ride the dragon and look at the scenery. So let's begin with that.
Ta-da! There we go.
Yeah, you can't really control the dragon. You just it's just a scripted, pre-recorded dragon flight. There is the blue route, the blue screen route right there. There's a path right there. That's the long route or the bad ending route. It's got some nice rock music. While flying. Predetermined flight. It's a neat little bonus. This will be the last segment of the Yeah, it is. So we're getting close to the path. We'll start the path. Okay, that was pretty short. Okay, that was just a flyover of the blue-green route, the long or bad ending. It didn't go on the red route, so this was a short little thing, a few minutes long. But it's a neat little add-on called Ride the Dragon. So you've now, in this gameplay and review, you have both seen the red or left route, the good ending, where Lula finds the genie, and you've seen the left route, the greenish blue route, the bad or longer route, that where you miss the genie, but it has, both routes have different storyline, different narration, a different experience. And you've also seen the Ride the Dragon, so this is a pretty long gameplay and review. It's a longer game. It was Toguc Bodur's second game, and the second installment of the Drizzlepath series. This was also the first game he used Unreal Engine. The first game, Drizzlepath, used the CryEngine. So the rest of his games are Unreal, just like the engine that I use. I use Unreal Engine. I am in the process, as you know, of developing my own games. I'm in training, you might say, a student of Unreal Engine. But within the next year, I think I'll be working on my first game, and you can go check that out. I'm going to do a gameplay review video of it, and all the rest of my stuff that I'm doing. You'll find that on my channel when I get to it. So I hope you enjoyed this gameplay review video of Drizzlepath Genie from Toguc Bodur. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment and support the channel, and I'll be making many more gameplay and review videos very soon. I have a bunch more stuff to do. Things have been busy lately, but I've been trying to fit everything in, and I thank you for all the support and the viewership so far. It's really starting to become something, almost 6 months in, and I'll see what happens this next year. Things are going to be, I'll have a lot more going on, and I'm going to expand the channel a lot this next year in 2026, and we'll see where it goes from here. So I'll be seeing you around.